What is going on, guys? What is going on, 27 squad? Welcome back into another video, and today we are going to be doing my 2-round mock draft 2.0 this year. I know I've been so late on these mock drafts. Usually I do about 3 or 4 a year as far as like all 32 teams or all round 1. This year is my first round 2, like 2-round mock draft. So you guys have to bear with me. I'm a little bit of like a perfectionist, so it took me a while to make this. It took a lot of trial and error to make this, but I had to like not focus on like perfecting each, every 64, every pick, which is like 64 picks. So you guys let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. We'll be going through every single pick and pretty much going over what I think about the pick and why I made the pick for each team. This is going to be a little bit predictive, all right? This is going to be pretty predictive. This is not going to be very predictive. It's going to be a mix of what I would do, and with predictive kind of like Trayvon Walker. Obviously you guys know about me and Trayvon Walker, the deal we got going on together, but I do have him going number 3 overall here. So we're getting a little predictive here as well, and kind of like what I would do at GM. So it's just, you guys just got to take it or leave it. So that being said, let's get right into it. If you guys enjoy the content, make sure you guys hit the like button for me and subscribe if you guys are new. If you guys want to see more content like this in the future, we're going to be covering a lot of the draft, especially when the draft is over, and going over who had the best draft, who had the worst draft, things like that. So let's go into the first 5 picks here, and then when we scroll down, we'll go through each pick. So, first 5 picks, Aiden Hutchinson, number 1. I really don't want to keep talking about this. Aiden Hutchinson deserves to be number 1. If Evan Neal is not going to be the number 1, it should not be Trayvon Walker, and it shouldn't even be Kenneth Walker. Aiden Hutchinson is the pick, okay? Moving on to the Detroit Lions, I've seen a lot of different things here. Early on, it was Kyle Hamilton or Kayvon Thibodeau, and it still very well can be Kayvon Thibodeau, not so much Kyle Hamilton. But a recent one that I've been seeing that I didn't like in the beginning, but I've came around to, was Malik Willis going number 2 overall. If you just think about it, now, is Malik Willis really a number 2 overall worthy pick? Probably not. But at this stage of where Detroit is at, they can really afford. On top of that, they have another first round pick, 32, and then they have like 33, I think, something like that. So they have like two picks coming right up after this first round. So they're right there. They can afford to kind of get Malik Willis, get the quarterback of the future, because I honestly think Malik Willis is worth taking this high over a quarterback. Like if you get like a Sam Howell at the end of the first round, or in the beginning of second, or like a Matt Corral or something like that. A lot of people are like 1A, 1B with their quarterbacks, but I really think Malik Willis is the best out of them, and they can afford to go ahead and take this pick now, because Malik Willis can very well be gone by 6. So if they really like Malik Willis, take him now, and he can learn under Jared Goff. So, and then come into a very good offensive line when Malik Willis starts to play quarterback for the Lions. So moving on to the Houston Texans. Now listen, they need edge help desperately. Trayvon Walker's been like hitting, you guys know, I don't even need to explain it. You guys know that Trayvon Walker's been around the news media after the combine, things like that, even though he has like every possible next gen stat. He like ranks last in as far as the draft class edge rushers go, but that's just it doesn't matter, right? Because he had a great combine. So Trayvon Walker goes number 3 over here to the Houston Texans. Moving on to Kenneth Walker going to the Jets. Now, is the offensive line a major position of need for the Jets? Probably not. Can they go like a Sauce Gardner here? They can. But with the hype that I'm seeing from Ikwanu and Ahmad Garner as well, I just feel like they may want to prioritize, keeping Zach Wilson, upright, because he was pressured a lot last season. And on top of that, he had a lot of rookie growing pains to get through. And the best possible way to have your brand new young quarterback kind of have things slow down for him in the NFL is to provide protection for him. So Ikem Ekwonu is the pick here. Evan Neal going number 5 overall to the Giants is a godsend for the Giants. Now, me being a Giants fan, of course, I want this to happen, and I'm just going predictive here because, if I'm the Jets, I'm probably taking Evan Neal, but Ikem Ekwonu has been, like, everywhere as far as, the media goes, and people have been liking him more than Evan Neal lately, so that's the only reason why. Let's move on to, now this is probably going to go 2 at a time. Yeah, it's probably going to go 2 at a time. The scroller thing isn't very precise, but that being said, Kenny Pickett going number 6. Now, 2 quarterbacks going in the top 10, maybe not likely, but it can happen, and I wouldn't want it to happen. I don't think these quarterbacks are worth it, but Kenny Pickett, a lot of people seem to like him. I don't. Carolina seems to like him a lot, and so maybe they go after Kenny Pickett here. Moving on to Kayvon Thibodeau. This is a easy pick for the Giants here. This is definitely best player available and fits a major need of theirs. Fit him next to Azeez Ojulari, and you go from having a very kind of underwhelming young but talented group of edge rushers to a very good young group of pass rushers to pair up with Azeez Ojulari, because right now it's Quincy Roche. Quincy Roche is great, but probably not starter level, and you could definitely upgrade with Kayvon Thibodeau. Moving on. Let's see, Garrett Wilson going number 8. Now, am I the biggest Garrett Wilson fan in the world? No. Now, there are reports that Jameson Williams is heavily liked by the Atlanta Falcons. Don't know how true that is, but, you know, he may well go this high, or maybe Atlanta decides to trade down and go after a Jameson Williams because they have him so high on their board. But for sake of the draft, and this is a no-trade draft, they just stay where they're at. They get Garrett Wilson here, number 8 overall. Charles Cross going to the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to mock this as long as Charles Cross is available at number 9. It's just the pick to make for Seattle. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They have to get offensive tackle. They have to learn from their mistakes of, really get the reason why their quarterback left Seattle in the first place, is the lack of talent surrounding him and the lack of protection surrounding him. And they have to keep whoever is going to be quarterbacking that team in the near future upright. So Charles Cross is the pick here. Probably the best pure left tackle in this draft. Ahmad Gardner going, so the Jets wind up getting him anyway. He falls to 10. Ahmad Gardner goes number 10. Now, Ahmad Gardner is definitely one of the top 5 players in this draft, but good players fall in drafts all the time. It just goes by what teams are really looking for in the draft and what they really are, kind of the positions they're trying to really hit on. Look like Carolina with the quarterback position, or Detroit with the quarterback position, or so on and so forth. Atlanta with the wide receiver position, because they literally have nobody there. If they had some wide receivers there, if they didn't have any bigger needs, they probably would go after an Ahmad Gardner there and pair him up with AJ Terrell, but not the case here. Moving on, we're going to kind of rapid fire these because we're already 7 minutes in, and we got plenty of more picks to go through. Chris Olave going to Washington. Now, I know a lot of people may pick like Drake London if they go receiver here. They pick like Drake London here. That can happen, and honestly, I wouldn't mind that happening. I just feel like some teams, like the 2016 Giants, really had that kind of that trend of smaller receivers. Odell, Victor Cruz, Sterling Shepard, all these smaller receivers kind of they kind of went that direction, and that seems like what Washington may want to do, with Terry McLaurin. And Terry McLaurin's not small, but I mean he's kind of shifty, kind of faster, right? And Curtis Samuel, Chris Olave would be one to add in there as well. So Derek Stingley going to Minnesota. This is another pick that needs to happen. They need to get corner in this draft. That if Derek Stingley and Ahmad Gardner are not available here, Minnesota needs to find a way to get a corner. I don't know if they're gonna reach for a Trent McDuffie if he goes this high, or if they want to trade down for McDuffie or Andrew Booth. Depends on what they want to do, but they have to get themselves a corner in this draft. Kyle Hamilton slipping all the way down to 13. This is exactly where I see Kyle Hamilton going, although I think he's one of the best players in this draft. Very high on Kyle Hamilton. I just the positional need of safety, or the positional value of safety, is just very, very small when it comes to the first round of the draft. So Kyle Hamilton slipping to 13. Houston doesn't need to grab him at 3. They get him at 13. Jordan Davis going to Baltimore. They needed to kind of rejuvenate that defensive interior. Devin Lloyd going to Philly. This makes all the sense in the world. This is probably their biggest need, and they get one of the better players in this draft. I mean, if it wasn't for positional value, Devin Lloyd is an absolute monster, and I don't know. I think he should be a little bit higher on people's rankings, but he's gonna be good. He's gonna be a great player, and it sucks to see him go to Philly, but he's gonna be a good player. Jameson Williams going to the Saints here. This would be interesting. Mike Thomas should be coming back. Jameson Williams should be coming back from injury anytime soon. So pairing them up would be a good yin and yang for Jameis Winston. Moving on to Trevor Penning. And now I've been like, I'm not very high on Trevor Penning, I'll be honest with you. But at 17, the Chargers aren't really a team that really have a lot of big needs. A lot of people keep mocking defensive tackles here. I don't understand it. They paid a lot of money in the defensive tackle position last year. Jerry Tillery is still there. Austin Johnson, Sebastian Joseph Day. You don't need any more defensive tackles, especially, you just don't, okay? You just don't need any more defensive tackles there, especially a first-round pick. So Trevor Penning coming off the board here. They have a hole at right tackle, and obviously they have, one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, young quarterbacks in the NFL, Justin Herbert, so find a way to protect him better. Trent McDuffie coming off the board here at 18. They need corners too, okay? Philly needs linebackers and corners, and they find a way to get them both here. So Trent McDuffie coming off the board at 18. Jermaine Johnson, they have Cam Jordan there in New Orleans. Who else do they have after Trey Hendrickson left? Nobody, right? And then their defensive tackle went to the Jets. I can't remember his name. Their first round defensive tackle that a couple of years ago, like a pass rushing defensive tackle. I can't remember his name. Why is this escaping my mind? I'll remember after the video, I bet. So Andrew Booth going. Now listen, Andrew Booth could very well, Pittsburgh can very well go quarterback here. Like, I'm hearing Desmond Ritter, possibly going in the first round to Pittsburgh. I don't know how true that is, but the next position of need for Pittsburgh is definitely cornerback, and Andrew Booth, I think, is a little bit underrated. I think they'll be getting a really good corner here at 20. Nakobe Dean is a slam dunk pick for New England. This is probably their biggest need right now is linebacker. They're not really a team that have a lot of needs. I know they weren't a great playoff team last year, or probably, I don't know, they don't necessarily have a stacked roster, but they really don't have much needs worth addressing in the first round besides like a linebacker, because they I don't know, it just doesn't look like they have any big needs. That's just my opinion. But Nakobe Dean going to New England. Now Drake London coming off the board here, he falls all the way to Green Bay. That's just how I have it. I have him falling because the NFL is really gravitating towards these smaller wide receivers and these more shiftier wide receivers. Garrett Wilson is kind of the exception. He kind of embodies everything of the wide receivers in this class. But Jameson Williams, Chris Olave, these guys are smaller, shifty receivers, kind of where the NFL is gravitating towards. And Drake London, although he's a fantastic, he's probably my favorite prospect, my favorite wide receiver prospect in this draft. He's just not what the NFL has kind of been looking for over the past couple of years. Not really been highly sought after. So he falls to 22. And Aaron Rodgers is provided with a weapon, a big body weapon that catches pretty much everything. Can hold, can take a lot of volume, a lot of targets a game, and a great 50-50 ball guy. So George Karlaftis coming up the board at Arizona. He falls on my mock draft, even though I really think highly of Karlaftis. I think he's going to fall. And Arizona needs pass rush. Dallas, Zion Johnson. They need offensive linemen desperately. And they may want to find a new corner after what happened with Kelvin Joseph. So we'll see if they address that. I can't remember if I had them addressing that anyway. But Zion Johnson coming off the board here out of Boston College. Kenyon Green. So 2 guards in a row. Kenyon Green going to Buffalo. Buffalo is not a team that has a lot of needs. They could even, if they really wanted to, and really upgrade a position of need, they can go after a running back here. I'm not opposed to it. The next time they pick is at the end of the second round, and you may have Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker off the board at that point, and those two are in a league of their own there. So, Kenyon Green is a good pick here, but they may want to go running back. I don't know. I just have them going guard here. Treylon Burks coming off the board here in Tennessee. Out of Arkansas, Treylon Burks compares himself to A.J. Brown. Now he joins the team where A.J. Brown is. So, good pick for Tennessee. Another team that doesn't really have a lot of needs. Moving on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Davonte Wyatt coming off the board to match up with Vita Vea. To pair with Vita Vea on the defensive interior would be absolutely sick, man. For Vita Vea, Vita Vea is, he can pass rush a bit, but he's more of a run stuffer guy, and Davonte Wyatt can do it all, but he provides a bit of pass rush as well. Having that duo there would be very, very nice for the Buccaneers, and they don't really have a lot of needs, especially offensively, so they can afford to kind of rejuvenate the defense a little bit, as it's been getting pretty old and a lot of free agents on that defensive line. Moving on, Tyler Smith coming off the board here to Green Bay. They need interior help, and a lot of people say Tyler Smith can move to guard. I can definitely see it myself, so Tyler Smith moving the guard there. Boye Mafe coming off the board to Kansas City. They need edge help besides Frank Clark, and Boye Mafe has kind of been rising on my own board lately, so I like him sneaking into the first round, or Arnold Ebiketie. Could be him or Boye Mafe. I have Boye Mafe instead. Moving on to their next pick, Kansas City has. They may trade up or trade down. I don't know. Kansas City may not keep these consecutive picks. I've never seen a team in the first round keep consecutive picks. They've always traded them. So Christian Watson coming on the board here. I know they're in love with Sky Moore. I don't like Sky Moore in the first round. Sorry, not doing it. I don't like Sky Moore in the first round. Christian Watson is definitely a guy that rose up boards, and deservingly so. I think he's a really good prospect. And Christian Watson coming off the board to Kansas City. Kaiir Elam going to Cincinnati. Cincinnati needs corner help after Eli Apple's performance there in the playoffs, making it national. He was a national meme at that point. Feel bad for Eli Apple, I really do, but Kaiir Elam there to kind of help the situation out a little bit, if you know what I'm talking about. So moving on to the last pick of the first round before the second round starts, and we have Daxton Hill being drafted by the Detroit Lions. Now, this is a guy that can move to safety or cornerback. I see him more as a slot corner. He played a lot of slot corner in Michigan, but his cover skills just aren't great off the snap. That's the only thing I'm concerned about. But I'm not here to talk about prospects individually. But Daxton Hill could be a good rotational piece at any position you really need him on that defense. For Detroit, they can really use that. A guy that can move around, play slot corner, play safety wherever he's needed. And I think would be a good pick here at the end of the first. Moving on to the second round, you may notice a guy in Tyler Linderbaum sneaks out of the first round to the second round. He's had one of the biggest plummets of a prospect I've ever, of a draft stock that I've ever seen in a prospect. He was being mocked all the way to the Giants at 7. That's how high I've been seeing him mocked. And now, in my own mock draft, I have him falling to the second round because he's a center-only prospect. That's what happens. So Tyler Linderbaum coming off the board here, I think this would be a great pick for Jacksonville. They can, they really don't need to address tackle right off the bat. That's why, I had them skipping out on Evan Neal first overall, but they can definitely use interior help at center, and Tyler Linderbaum would be a great addition to help, to help Trevor Lawrence and his development, and hopefully Tyler Linderbaum would be a great addition there to help Lawrence out. So I think it's a good pick. Round 2, Arnold Ebiketie coming off the board to Detroit. Another great pick by Detroit. First they pick up Malik Willis for the future, and then Daxton Hill and Arnold Ebiketie to help their defense out. Fantastic move. Their offense is actually pretty well set. They really need to work on their defense, however, and these two picks should go a long way. David Ojabo coming off the board here to the Jets right before the Giants. But the Giants picked up Kayvon Thibodeau anyway. But David Ojabo, man, it really sucks what happened to him. But, the Achilles injury shouldn't last too long. We've seen a player from the Colts last year be drafted in the second round, and he had an Achilles injury, came back later in the year and actually balled out. So David Ojabo, I can definitely see being just fine. He's going to drop in the draft. He's going to lose some money, but I had the Jets picking him up here, and honestly, I think it would be a very, very good fit there with the Jets. I don't know if they reverted back to a 4-3 scheme or if they're still in the 3-4. I think they're still in the 3-4, and if they're still in the 3-4, man, this would be a great pick for the Jets. Now, I have the Giants drafting Lewis Cine. I know the Giants fans don't like this because I had this in my New York Giants mock draft. I know Giants fans don't like this pick, but I love Lewis Cine as a prospect. Screw you guys. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want another safety in the second round. We just got Xavier McKinney. But listen, this may be best player available. A lot of people have Lewis Cine going in the first. Him dropping here to the second round. I swear I didn't plan this myself. But him dropping to the second round here, you as the Giants, you would have to take him here. You have a big hole at safety. I know a lot of people are like, Julian Love can fill that spot in. I'm sorry, Julian Love is not keeping me from getting one of the best open field tacklers in the draft right now in Lewis Cine, and a guy that can pretty much play anywhere. So I love Lewis Cine, and I have the Giants drafting him here, filling in a big hole at safety. Moving on, Johan Dotson going to the Texans. Now, Jahan Dotson is a great zone finder. I don't think he's a number one wide receiver at all. I think he's going to be a fantastic number two. And with Brandon Cooks there for another 2 years, Jahan Dotson can play that second fiddle there with the Texans, and have him compete with Nico Collins as well. So it adds a pretty good variety of weapons there for Davis Mills. Moving on, or is his name David Mills? Is David Mills or Davis Mills? David Mills? I think it's David Mills. I'm thinking of a Davis Webb. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Davis Webb. David Mills. I'm sorry, guy. I'm sorry, David. Or Dave. Man, we're moving on. The New York Jets drafting Alec Pierce, big-bodied receiver out of Cincinnati. They can definitely use some wide receiver help. You know, John Dotson would be a good fit there as well. But Alec Pierce, man, he's going unnoticed, but he's getting noticed more and more as the draft goes on. But I mean, I didn't even know about him until a couple of weeks ago, and I actually like him a lot as a prospect. So the Jets get another good price. The Jets can't mess up their draft, man. They have two top 10 picks in each round. That's crazy. They have 2 top 10 picks in the first round, 2 top 10 picks in the second round. That's with man. They're gonna come away with a lot of good talent, unless they start decide to trade down or whatever the case may be, or trade up even and take away some of those picks. But man, if they keep those picks, they're gonna get 4 really good guys. So we're moving on. I'm sorry, I keep moving down by accident. So Bernhard Raymond from Central Michigan coming out the board with Chicago's first pick in this draft, and they need offensive line help. They need protection on the edge, and the Bernhard Raymond does that for them. I know a lot of people have him going in the first round. I don't, so there's that. Seattle getting a potential quarterback for the future in Matt Corral. So he's gonna have to develop and compete. Drew Lock is there at this moment right now, so we'll see what happens with that. Don't see Matt Corral starting at all, so I don't know what they're gonna do there. They're kind of in a really big situation right now, being that they didn't go after a quarterback yet, and Baker Mayfield, Jimmy G still available. So moving on, Seattle has another pick here, and I have them getting Drake Jackson, edge rusher out of USC. They can very well get an edge rusher. They need edge rush help just as bad as they need like tackles and corners. So they have a lot of big needs everywhere, Seattle does. So they can easily get like a Jermaine Johnson instead with that 9th overall pick, or like Karlaftis or something like that. But have them getting Drake Jackson here. I like Drake Jackson. I don't like his older tape. His newer tape is a lot better than his 2020. His 2021 is a lot better than his 2020. So Drake Jackson coming out the board here. Abraham Lucas, he's a guy that's getting a lot of attention lately. I remember last year he was supposed to go in the draft. Last year he was like a 5th round prospect or something like that. This man's getting a lot of recognition. He's worked his way all the way to 2nd round prospect and potentially a 1st round prospect. So I like Abraham Lucas. It's going to be a great first pick for Indianapolis this year. Indianapolis doesn't really have a lot of needs at all, but they can definitely use another tackle to help Matt Ryan out. So Abraham Lucas coming off the board here. I have the Falcons addressing corner now. Instead of earlier they got Garrett Wilson. Now they pick up Roger McCreary to pair up with AJ Terrell. Travis Jones coming off the board. A lot of people have Travis Jones going to the Browns. I swear I'm not picking up on the trend. It's just what it is. I like Travis Jones a lot, and Cleveland needs some interior defensive help. So there's that. Kyler Gordon going to the Baltimore Ravens to kind of be filling in for those corner. I mean, Marcus Peters, you got Marcus Peters there. You got Marlon Humphrey there. Marcus Peters getting older. I don't know how old he is or where his contract is going, but I know they lack depth there, man. They lost Jimmy Smith. They lost they lost someone young, right? Something like that. They lost a couple of corners over there, so putting in Kyler Gordon should help out a lot. And I'm not a big Kyler Gordon guy, to be honest with you, but neither am I a Trent McDuffie guy. But maybe that's just because I don't like watching corners like that. Besides Byron Murphy. Cameron Thomas coming off the board here, edge rusher out of San Diego State. Probably the best, like, heavier, defensive ends left in this draft. I mean, there's not a lot of them. There's a lot of, like, 240, 250 pounders. But Cameron Thomas is going to be, like, the only one that's really going to fit a 4-3 very nicely if it's not the first round. So I have him coming out the board here to Minnesota. Jaquan Brisker filling in Landon Collins' spot at safety. I don't even think Landon Collins still has a home. Where's he at? He didn't even sign with the team. He's still a free agent. That's interesting. But Jaquan Brisker filling in Landon Collins' spot as that hard-hitting safety coming out of Penn State. George Pickens, okay. Chicago, with their second pick in this draft, gets George Pickens out of Georgia. They can use some wide receiving help as well. They addressed offensive line, as you guys saw in Bernhard Raymond. And to help out Justin Fields even more, get yourself a bigger body target in George Pickens, who a lot of people see as a potential number one receiver in the NFL. And so they need wide receivers. They're another team that has, like, no wide receivers. So they need something. Sam Howell coming off the board here to New Orleans. Listen, I know the Saints probably traded for another first-round pick, like added another first-round pick in this draft, probably to go after a quarterback. But how I have the draft going, I have Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett coming off the board. I don't think the Saints need to really get a quarterback with one of their first round picks if those two are off the board, because you really don't want to go after like a Matt Corral or a Desmond Ritter with one of those higher picks. You can really wait for like a Sam Howell. I mean, it's all how you have these guys ranked, because nobody really has a certain rank. Some people have all their boards like completely opposite. So I have the Kansas City Chiefs addressing their secondary with Tariq Woolen out of UTSA. Bigger corner, I think he's like 6'4" or something like that. So he's a prototype, man. So the Philadelphia Eagles getting Perrion Winfrey, the athletic, pass rushing defensive tackle out of Oklahoma, to rotate in there with Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox. And then we have Desmond Ritter finally coming off the board. I know a lot of people have Ritter going in the first round to Pittsburgh. I have him going to the second round with Pittsburgh, and yeah, I think he'll be a good fit over there in Pittsburgh and to compete there. So they have a lot of quarterbacks there. RIP Dwayne Haskins, man, of course, but they got a lot of quarterbacks in there to compete with Ritter. Green Bay with I believe their third pick in this draft so far, getting the Marvin Leal, and he's another guy that took a complete plummet in this draft stock, man. I mean, Leal was one of the like higher prospects on a lot of people's board going in the high first round, and he's falling all the way to the second, and I've seen the third as well. So the Marvin Leal, a lot of people see him being an interior pass rusher, and that's where he is with Green Bay here at 53. 54, Martin Emerson coming off the board at corner. They have a huge hole now that was left by J.C. Jackson. He was a great player for them, and they need to address corner. He's the best corner on the board as of right now. I'll be honest with you, don't know too much about Martin Emerson. I can't tell you too much about him, but they need cornerback help very badly, and they don't really have much needs besides that, so have them addressing that here. Moving on, Kenneth Walker coming to Arizona. This would be a great tandem to put in to add on with James Conner, man. I know they have Eno Benjamin there, but Eno Benjamin isn't going to keep me from getting one of the best running backs in this draft class. And Kenneth Walker, man, is going to be special, man. He's only standing at like 5'9" or something like that. Almost like just about 200 pounds, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe even more than that, maybe 210. But he can get inside, play inside the tackles, man. He's a smaller back, but definitely a tough runner, and definitely a guy with great breakaway speed. So Kenneth Walker is going to be special. Arizona needs to get back to the running game and help Kyler out a little bit. John Mechie coming off the board here to Dallas. They need wide receivers after they let go of Amari Cooper and Cedric Wilson. They have CeeDee Lamb there as our new number 1. So see what happens there. Next up, Breece Hall. Man, Buffalo really doesn't have a lot of needs. I mentioned earlier that they can definitely address running back in the first round if they wanted to, but I have them addressing it here, getting a bruiser and a guy with breakaway speed like Breece Hall, man, to add on there with the already a dual-headed monster in Zach Moss and Devin Singletary. Those two guys are good, but none of them are really a workhorse back. That's why they don't run the ball there in Buffalo too much. We'll see what happens with their new offensive coordinator, but man, Breece Hall would definitely work wonders there, and they would definitely run the ball more with Breece Hall there in Buffalo. The Atlanta Falcons addressing their safety position, getting Jalen Petrie. I don't really know how to say his name, but Jalen Petrie there. And Green Bay adding a tight end to their receiving core with Trey McBride, my number 1 tight end in this draft. And, you know, they're adding him on there with, his name is escaping me right there. Tunyon. They have Runyon and Tunyon there in Green Bay. By adding him there with Tunyon, it's gonna be a good tandem there. And then of course they added Drake London earlier as well. And then 2 tight ends right off the bat. Greg Dulcich, shout out to my boy Diggy546. He's a really big Dulcich fan, or Dulcich. I don't know how to say his name, but out of UCLA. You know, Rob Gronkowski is out. They pretty much just have Cameron Brate there, and you know, because OJ Howard went to Buffalo, if I'm not mistaken, so they can definitely use another tight end. They address it here. Daniel Falele. Someone just told me about Daniel Falele too on the Young Guns podcast. We were able to check him out, and I checked him out, and man, he's an interesting prospect, definitely. And you know, I definitely see him more so transitioning to guard, even though he's a way bigger prospect to kind of put at guard, you know, a taller prospect to put at guard. Maybe an issue for Trey Lance, you know, trying to see his receivers with a big, huge human being right in front of him. But Daniel Falele is definitely an interesting prospect, man. May not be a tackle at the next level, but I think will be a pretty damn good guard, and he is freaking huge. Moving on, we're getting towards the end. Sky Moore getting chosen by Kansas City. I know that I had Christian Watson going with their first round pick. It's not a mistake. I had them addressing wide receiver twice. They can definitely use it. Losing Byron Pringle, losing Tyreek Hill is big. It's major. I know they have kind of a very saturated wide receiving room, but it's nothing very special there in Kansas City. I know they have Josh Gordon, or what's left of Josh Gordon. They don't have anybody else besides that, man. It's not looking too pretty there in Kansas City as far as receiving options go. So adding Sky Moore in there, I know he was a potential first round pick, but they're picking again and he was available, so might as well just double dip a receiver and see what you get. Moving on with our last 2 picks, 63 and 64. I'm trying to see if you guys can see it. There we go. 63 and 64. Logan Hall and Christian Watson. Logan Hall can definitely rotate in there with Cincinnati, and in Cincinnati with BJ Hill and DJ Reader. I love BJ Hill. Did a fantastic job with Cincinnati. Was drafted by the Giants, and I miss him very much. But BJ Hill did a very good job. But Logan Hall can definitely add into that rotation there. Cincinnati doesn't have a lot of glaring issues with their roster, so they can afford to just go in the second round and get a really talented player to rotate in their defense. And Christian Harris coming off the board here. I know I have guys like Leo Chenal not making it on the second round here, or like Chad Muma, right? I have Christian Harris coming off the board here. Maybe Leo Chenal may be the pick here instead of Christian Harris, or maybe they're both taken somewhere in the second round, but have Christian Harris being the last pick of the second round here. I think would be a good pick by Denver. So that being said, guys, that is my 2-round mock draft, my first ever 2-round mock draft. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, guys. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed, subscribe if you guys are new, and I'll see you guys in the next video.